Another consequence of lacking a sensory awareness or sensory lens is self-alienation. So, body alienation or self-alienation is the feeling of being disconnected from one's body and its sensations. Without understanding our sensory experiences, this disconnection can be stronger and more intensified. So, sensory experiences, they are continuously influencing us, but without understanding them, we can begin to feel estranged from our bodies and in turn from our sense of self. This disconnection can make it difficult to navigate daily life and to advocate for our sensory needs. So, when you're working with autistic clients, helping them build a sensory lens does more than just help them regulate their sensory experience. It helps them reconnect with themselves. It's about more than managing sensory needs, it's about restoring their relationship with their bodies and their sense of self. Okay, so that's a bit about what a sensory lens even is and why it's important. Let's talk about some of the barriers. There are many barriers that we all face when working to cultivate a sensory lens, whether we're neurodivergent or neurotypical. So, first off, our society doesn't naturally operate with a sensory lens. If you mention sensory preferences or sensory experiences to someone who isn't a fellow occupational therapist or someone knowledgeable about autism, you might get a puzzled look. And while this is slowly starting to change, it's clear we don't yet live in a society that routinely considers how sensory experiences influence and shape us. For neurotypical people or those without sensory sensitivities, developing a sensory lens can be challenging because their own sensory experiences don't demand much attention. As a result, they may forget to use this lens when interacting with their sensory sensitive clients or children. For autistic people, one barrier is differences in interoception. So, interoceptive awareness refers to our ability to perceive what's happening inside our bodies, things like hunger, thirst, the urge to use the bathroom, and emotions. And so there are a few ways that interoceptive differences tend to be different in autistic people. On one hand, it could be muted, or it could be exaggerated, or simply the signals can be confusing and difficult to differentiate. So a person might struggle to know the difference between feeling hungry, or anxious, or fear, or sickness, or excitement. So these challenges make it harder to develop the body awareness needed to cultivate a sensory lens. Another common issue is this body alienation or dissociation. I see this a lot in my work with adults. So many of us have coped with sensory overwhelm by disconnecting from our bodies, especially those of us who have masked our autism throughout our lives. So we've learned essentially to dissociate from our sensory experience as a coping mechanism. And to truly understand our sensory world, we need to reconnect with our bodies, which is challenging for many of us. Okay, and here's the final barrier, and I want to spend a bit of time on this one today. Traumatic invalidation, specifically sensory invalidation. So many autistic people experience pervasive invalidation that impacts every level of their identity. Sensory invalidation is often a core component of this, and it can lead to a loss of trust in oneself and one's perception of the world. It can lead us to wonder things like, is this soup really too hot or am I just overreacting? Is it uncomfortable in here or am I just weak? Are the chips too spicy or am I just sensitive? Is this an unsafe person or am I being overreactive right now? Perhaps the most harmful form of invalidation is when we invalidate ourselves. So, the invalidation that comes when we override our body's instincts in order to be perceived as polite. So, for example, hugs might feel intrusive, but perhaps we've learned it's better to be polite and accept them. Or moving our arms feels good, but we've been told it looks strange, so we suppress it. Eye contact dysregulates, but we override our body's instincts to self soothe and we maintain eye contact in order to be seen as polite. The message becomes clear. I can't trust my body to know what's good for it. I can't trust my body to self soothe. I can't trust my body to know when I'm in danger. And this inability to trust our body's signals of danger contributes to disproportionate rates of victimization among autistic people. Being able to trust our bodies and perception is fundamental to maintaining safety. While it doesn't guarantee safety, lacking self trust ensures vulnerability.